Alright, so I'm bored. This was starting in the middle of quarantine, and I decided to go to Game Drill to download some FNAF fan games. I ended up going to the best section, and I found a game called Weekdays at Wilbur's. And I want to actually get this YouTube channel off the ground, so this is why this video exists. Hi, I'm Tripled, and this is a review of God damn it. Weekdays at Wilbur's. A fan game made by Ramen Games. If you recognize that name, don't worry, I'll explain later. Anyway, back on topic. This was the first game made by Ramen Games, and having played the game, this game deserves more love. Because it's so good. Want to hear something interesting and oddly depressing? Ramen Games was the same guy who made Eddie and the Misfits. And if you think it's restricted to Game Drill, no. I checked YouTube to see who played it, and not a lot of people know about it either. Alright, rant about how underrated this game is as an excuse to pad out the video is over with. Let's talk about the game for real this time. So the game's main menu is already making me excited. The ambiance is so good. Let's talk about night gameplay, and you find that it uses the FNAF 6 night system. That's not a criticism. Don't take it seriously because of how I phrased it. So the night begins and this office is very claustrophobic. Our phone guy of this game comes in and explains that a rainstorm happened here, fucking up the animatronic systems, and they're planning on moving the animatronics to a separate location to get them looked at and fixed, and everybody wins! Well, except for this one guy who used on the location and somehow lost everything before the game started. How and why this happened is unknown at the moment, and no one, like the phone guy, doesn't seem to know. And at this point, I'd imagine the animatronics to be confused themselves. Hey, what happened to the old owner of this place? I don't know.
No one knows, except for that guy.
So the first night is just a nothing night where you don't do anything. The animatronics do jack shit. You're left alone in your office to do nothing. This is honestly the most sympathetic Monday I had to go through. Each night ends with a cutscene of a character of the night being creepy. And from what I can tell, it basically shows you that the animatronics being affected was what caused them to become murderous assholes. Way to go, technicians. If I was in charge and I saw what the night guard did, I'd fire everyone that caused this to happen. Alright, so the night's over, let's go to night 2. Sorry, Dienstag. So the animatronics are active now, and now I'm going to talk about gameplay. So you have 2 doors, like in FNAF 1. Only this time you have no lights, meaning you have to check your cameras to see if they're outside your door. If they are, close it before they get in. Also, the map of the place is upside down, so you'll have to adjust that, but you can adjust quickly. The animatronics of the night are Seagull and Wilbur, who I'm just going to assume is a wolf off of appearance. Side note, it was confirmed that he was a wolf in the end of the trailer, but I'm lazy, so I didn't get the footage. And because it makes sense. Kinda. Okay, so as of writing this, I ended up doing some research and found that wolves can live near the ocean, but I didn't jump to that, and I don't know if anyone else did. So that's something I found weird. However, this complaint is small, so I'm not going to make a 3-hour video about how this is a problem and bullshit some footage to the game. So night's over, and we're now at the night immediately begins with some good news.
We tinkered with Sheldon, the turtle mascot in the back room. He's functioning pretty well now, so he'll be moving tonight.
Yay! More stress for my animatronic self! Real though, Sheldon is a cool animatronic. Basically, when he gets in the crawl spaces, you need to make sure that he stays at either here or here. If you don't pay attention to him, he'll kill you, regardless of whether or not the doors are closed. I'm fine because the dead guy inside of me is. However, I'd imagine it being difficult for others, but overall this helps make the game more intense. Since we have the time, I'd like to go over the gameplay in a little more depth. Overall, the gameplay is excellent. Nights are quick, at least 3 minutes to give an exact estimate, but it doesn't affect the gameplay at all really. Well, yes, it's simple, it works, and it gets tougher. It's all a matter of getting good. Noob. Night's over, and I'm just gonna talk about the jump scares now because Donor's Talk and Fry Talk are just the same thing but harder and harder. So jump scares are really well animated, but while I like the animation of the jump scare sound effect just sounded like someone drinking something in a very weird way. And to prove my point, here's another comic I made. This moose sucks. At least I get free coffee. Hey, does anyone know where the coffee went? I swear to God, that jump scare sound effect is great for all the wrong reasons. Oh yeah, with Diner Talk and Fry Talk, the phone guy starts getting creeped out by the animatronics. He says that something is clearly wrong and all their efforts did jack shit, and it only got worse since they started working on them. I say starts to get creeped out because in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I give up on writing here. He seemed to think that everything is fine and that aside from them moving, there's nothing to worry about. It's only after he starts to get genuinely worried, which I honestly find very interesting. Alright, 2 nights later and we're already on Sam's Talk. In this case, our night 6. And I'm just gonna say it. This night was easy as fuck. The night begins with the twist that the animatronics are unharmed, implying the dead people, blah 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 blah, or they were reprogrammed, in that case, fuck hackers. They do this to us all the time. I'm getting off topic. So, what do I mean when I say this night is easy as fuck? Well, basically, Sammy's the only person here. That's not the only reason. The other reason is this button here. It acts as a radar, and all you need to do is hold it down to scan out its location. No! Why? This mechanic removes all the challenge in the game, since you have no need to worry about tracking it. Just hold down the button, and oh hey, cam is flickering. That cam has Sammy in it, and the day is saved. Night 6 should be a hard night as a result of the game getting harder and harder as the game, don't even think about it. But no, this night is the easiest bullshit. fnaf 4 proved that one animatronic could still be difficult as fuck. What happened here? Now that makes sense. The story is nothing huge, but overall, I'd say it's pretty interesting. So to basically summarize, Jack Hudson starts a restaurant called Sammy's Seafood. The night guard gets killed there, and Jack loses everything. Whether this is a hireable or not, I don't fucking know. The location is bought out by a different company, rebranded Wilbur Seafood Hut. A rainstorm happens, and the animatronics are either reprogrammed by someone, or the vengeful spirit of the dead security guard takes over the animatronics. This is mistaken as a rainstorm, however, the company still goes through the process of getting their shit together. This leads to them finding out something is not right about the animatronics. Not super complicated as far as I'm aware, but still pretty interesting because you usually get an explanation for why the animatronics are dicks to you, but in this game it's fairly vague, and from what I'm guessing, the creator made it that way. So props on him for making an interesting story here. Alright, so now on to presentation and atmosphere. Overall, the designs of the characters are simple but effective. It's very visually appealing. While the graphics are simple, it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It still looks good, and yeah. Now on the atmosphere. The game is very quiet. This works in and against the game's favor. Okay, so the main menu and custom night menu do have music. However, the main night gameplay has no ambiance. Now, this is where it gets kind of complicated because the lack of ambience can make a game eerie. However, because of the lack of audio, there is also nothing to keep the player on edge. This is honestly something I like the game for, but now I'm in a weird gray area where I think the lack of audio makes it less tense. There are examples in the main series where no ambiance actually works. However, the thing is that makes them tenser is the fact that the sound ends up sounding out more. By the way, the game that I'm using as an example is fnaf 6, for those who are confused by my ramblings. So this is a somewhat complicated thing that I wanted to mention, and I can see how this can be a positive and negative, but honestly I'm really tired, and this doesn't ruin the game too much, so I can forgive it. Overall, this game is very simple and quick, but I'd recommend the game if you get the chance. And don't tell me that you can't, because this is quarantine time and you're going to suck up left in the room with a loved one slowly going crazy like the rest of us. Oh yeah, and this review was originally gonna have music from the game, but I don't know if Ramen would approve of that, so I just used semi-unrelated FNAF music. I just realized this script is a little over 3 pages long. This is pretty short. Guess you can say it as long as the nights itself. Oh yeah, subscribe, blah 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 blah. I'm planning on doing either an Eddie and the Misfit or Weekdays at Wilbur's too. See you next video.